My mom looked at me and said, "You don't belong here." On Christmas, in front of everyone. My family laughed, my heart shattered. But I didn't break. I transformed. This is how betrayal became freedom. Get out of my house. Now. The words sliced through the warm buzz of Christmas lunch like a blade. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. My fork froze halfway to my mouth, turkey sliding back onto the plate as my eyes shot up to my mother. She wasn't smiling. Her lips were tight, her arms crossed, her glare fixed right on me. Around the table, laughter died. The sound of clinking cutlery faded into silence. Mom? I whispered, my voice cracking. What are you talking about? She leaned forward. You heard me. Pack your things. You don't belong here anymore. Gasps rippled around the table. My aunt covered her mouth. My cousins exchanged nervous glances. My little nephew dropped his toy on the floor with a thud. I felt the air drain out of my lungs. Christmas lunch had always been sacred one day when the whole family gathered no matter what. The sparkling tree in the corner, the golden lights, the laughter just moments ago, it all blurred. Now it was just me. Exposed. Humiliated. Why are you doing this? Now, I managed, gripping the edge of the table. My voice trembled, but I refused to cry. Mom slammed her napkin down. Because I am tired of carrying you. Tired of you relying on me for everything. You're an adult, but all you do is disappoint me. I felt my chest twist, heat rushing up my neck. That's not fair, I muttered. She stood. Fair? You wouldn't know fair if it hit you. You've had every chance, and what have you done with it? Nothing. Her voice rose, echoing in the decorated dining room. All eyes burned into me, pity, shock, and something worse. Judgment. My brother smirked. Of course he did. He'd always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She's right, he added with a chuckle. Maybe it's time you finally grew up. My stomach churned. He was enjoying this. Shut up, I snapped, but my voice cracked, betraying me. Mom's face hardened. Don't talk to your brother like that. He actually contributes to this family. The words hit harder than any slap. I felt the tears press against my eyes, but I blinked them back, swallowing the lump in my throat. Around me, plates of food sat untouched. Candles flickered. The scent of cinnamon and roast beef clung to the air, mocking me. You're kicking me out? On Christmas? I asked, barely audible. Mom didn't flinch. Yes, because it's the only way you'll learn. I pushed back my chair. The legs scraped against the hardwood with a screech that made everyone wince. My heart pounded in my ears. No one spoke. Not one person stopped her. Not my dad, who stared down at his plate like he hadn't heard a thing. Not my sister, who fiddled with her wine glass and avoided my eyes. Not my cousins, who shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. It was me, alone. Fine, I whispered, my throat raw. If that's what you want. I stumbled to my room, hands trembling as I grabbed my old duffel bag. I tossed in clothes, my worn-out jacket, the small box of keepsakes I kept hidden in the closet. My heart pounded harder with every item. The walls seemed to close in. Every corner of that house was filled with memories, laughter, fights, birthdays, quiet nights watching movies with Mom. Now they felt poisoned. By the time I zipped the bag shut, tears blurred my vision. I wiped them away angrily. She didn't deserve to see me break. When I walked back down the hall, bag slung over my shoulder, the living room was silent. All eyes on me again. The Christmas tree twinkled, gifts sparkled under its branches, and yet, for me, there was nothing. I paused at the doorway. My mom stood firm, arms still crossed. Merry Christmas, I said bitterly. Her expression didn't change. I turned and walked out. The cold December air hit me like a punch. Snowflakes drifted down, melting on my cheeks, or maybe that was just the tears finally escaping. I stood on the porch, staring at the streetlights glowing against the snow, the muffled sound of carols drifting from nearby houses. Families together, warm, safe. Not me. I tightened my grip on the duffel bag and stepped into the night. The bus stop was 5 blocks away, and every step felt heavier than the last. My boots crunched in the snow, breath fogging in the icy air. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. When the bus finally groaned to a halt, I climbed aboard, dropping coins into the machine with shaking hands. The driver glanced at me but said nothing. I slumped into a seat, pressing my forehead to the cold glass. The city passed in a blur of lights and snow. My chest ached, my mind replaying her words over and over. "You don't belong here anymore." It echoed, slicing me open again and again. By the time I got off downtown, night had fully swallowed the city. I wandered aimlessly past glowing storefronts, couples holding hands, kids tugging at parents' coats. Everyone belonged somewhere. Except me. Finally, I sank onto a bench outside a closed cafe. My hands were numb, my body shivered beneath the thin jacket. I pulled out my phone. No messages, no calls, no one cared. For the first time, it hit me I was truly on my own. And I had no idea how to survive. That night, I crashed at a cheap motel I could barely afford. The room smelled of damp carpet and stale smoke. The sheets scratched my skin, but at least there was heat. I lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, Mom's words looping in my head. Was she right? Was I really nothing but a disappointment? The tears came then, hot and uncontrollable. I buried my face in the pillow to muffle the sobs, my chest heaving. When the sun rose, pale and unforgiving, I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same. And maybe that was the point. I walked down that frozen driveway on Christmas Day with nowhere to go. Snowflakes landed on my cheeks, but the cold inside me was worse than anything winter could throw. My mom's words, "Get out, you ruined Christmas," kept repeating in my head like a curse. I wandered through the quiet streets, past houses glowing with fairy lights, families laughing inside. Every window I passed felt like a knife. Everyone had a home, a table, a place. I had none. At first, I thought of going to a friend's house, but my pride stopped me. I didn't want to show up crying, rejected by my own mother. Instead, I went to the bus station. The smell of gasoline and damp concrete hit me as I stepped inside. I bought the cheapest ticket I could find. To anywhere. The bus ride was endless. The heater barely worked, the windows were fogged, and the passengers around me slept with their heads against the glass. I sat awake, replaying Christmas lunch. My mom's angry eyes, my brother smirking, the silence of everyone else. My heart screamed, why didn't anyone defend me? I finally arrived in the next city, broke, tired, and completely alone. I rented the cheapest motel room I could afford with the little cash in my wallet. The room was damp, with peeling wallpaper and a single buzzing light. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was rock bottom. But then, something shifted. I remembered what my uncle had once told me, before Mom pushed him out of our lives too. Sometimes being thrown away is the start of being free. At the time, I didn't understand, but lying there, I finally got it. Maybe I didn't have a family anymore. But I had myself. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start building something new. The next morning, I walked into a cafe to warm up. My clothes smelled of cheap motel sheets, and I hadn't slept, but I ordered a coffee anyway. That's when a stranger at the next table looked at me and said, "Rough Christmas?" I laughed bitterly. "You have no idea." It turned out his name was Daniel. He was a few years older, dressed simply but with kind eyes. He told me he'd also been kicked out by his family years ago. At first, I didn't believe him. He seemed too put together, too calm. But then he pulled up his sleeve and showed me a faded tattoo. "Got this the night I left home," he said. "Thought it was the end. It wasn't. It was the start." We talked for hours. Daniel told me how he'd built his own life from nothing. First by finding small jobs, then saving, then starting his own little repair business. He wasn't rich, but he was proud. "Family isn't always blood," he said. "Sometimes family is who you find along the way." Those words lit something in me. Over the next weeks, Daniel became the brother I never had. He let me crash on his couch until I found part-time work. He pushed me to keep going, even when I wanted to give up. Meanwhile, my phone stayed silent. My mom didn't call. Neither did my siblings. For weeks, it was like I had never existed to them. And then one night, I got a message. It was my mom. "You embarrassed us on Christmas, but maybe you've had enough time to think. Come home, apologize, and we'll see." My hands shook as I read it. For a moment, my heart screamed to say yes, to go back, to finally belong again. But then I thought about everything. How quickly they'd discarded me. How none of them had stood up for me. How my mom had made Christmas, the day of family, about humiliation and control. And I realized going back would kill the new life I was just starting to build. So I wrote back. "I won't apologize for existing. I'm building my own life now. If you want me in yours, it has to be on different terms." I stared at the screen for a long time after sending it. No reply ever came. Years passed. Daniel and I became business partners. We turned his small repair shop into a full company. I finally had stability, friends, even love. I met someone who accepted me for who I was, scars and all. And then, one winter, I got a letter. It was from my mom. She wrote that she was sick, that she wanted to see me before it was too late. My chest ached as I read it. After everything, after years of silence, she was reaching out. I went. When I stepped into her house, it was like stepping back in time. The same smell of cinnamon and pine, the same Christmas lights hanging from the porch. My mom was frail, her hands trembling as she reached for mine. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I pushed you away because I was scared. You reminded me too much of your father. Independent, stubborn. I didn't know how to love you without controlling you." Tears burned my eyes. Part of me wanted to scream, to ask why she had waited until now. But another part of me, the part that had grown stronger, just held her hand and said, "I built my life without you, but I'll never stop being your child." That Christmas, I wasn't sitting at the kids' table anymore. I wasn't the outcast. I was the person I had become, the one who had walked through fire and survived. And in that moment, I finally realized being kicked out wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of my freedom.